My name is Laura, and Christmas has always been my favorite time of year. The warmth, the joy, the decorations, everything about it made me feel like a child again. But in 2015, my festive spirit was shattered by an experience that still haunts me. It started on Christmas Eve when my boyfriend Tom and I decided to spend the holiday at his family's old farmhouse in the countryside. The house was beautifully decorated, a perfect setting for a cozy Christmas. Snow gently fell outside, and the fireplace crackled with warmth as we settled in for the night. As midnight approached, we heard the faint sound of carolers singing Silent Night outside. Tom and I exchanged puzzled looks as the farmhouse was miles away from the nearest town. Curiosity got the better of us and we stepped outside to see who it was. To our surprise, the yard was empty. The singing continued, growing louder and more melodic, yet we couldn't see anyone. A shiver ran down my spine as I realized the voices were coming from the direction of the old barn on the property. Tom and I grabbed our coats and flashlights, heading toward the barn. The singing grew louder with each step, but the barn remained dark and empty. As we reached the entrance, the music abruptly stopped, leaving an eerie silence in its wake. Inside the barn, we found nothing but old farming equipment and hay bales. Confused, we decided to head back to the house. That's when we saw it, a figure standing at the far end of the barn, its face obscured by shadows. It started to move toward us and my heart raced with fear. We turned and ran back to the farmhouse, slamming the door shut behind us. Back inside, the sense of unease grew stronger. The lights flickered and the temperature dropped dramatically. I noticed that our Christmas tree, which had been beautifully decorated, now had several broken ornaments scattered around its base. Tom tried to reassure me, but I could see the fear in his eyes. As the night wore on, the strange occurrences continued. The sound of footsteps echoed through the house, doors creaked open and shut on their own, and the carolers' voices returned, this time inside the house. Desperate for answers, we searched the farmhouse for any clues. In the attic, we found an old, dusty box filled with letters and photographs. The letters spoke of a tragedy that had occurred on Christmas Eve many years ago. A family who had once lived in the farmhouse had been found dead in the barn, their bodies arranged as if they were singing carols. The townspeople believed it was the work of a vengeful spirit that haunted the property. Terrified, Tom and I tried to leave the farmhouse, but the carolers' voices grew louder, surrounding us. The figure from the barn appeared in the doorway, its eyes glowing with a malevolent light. We were trapped. In a final act of desperation, Tom and I clutched each other and began to sing Silent Night. As our voices filled the room, the figure seemed to waver, its form flickering like a candle in the wind. The carolers' voices joined ours, and for a moment, everything was still. Suddenly, the figure vanished and the oppressive cold lifted. The house returned to its normal warmth, and the carolers' voices faded into the night. Shaken but relieved, Tom and I spent the rest of Christmas Eve huddled together, too afraid to sleep. The next morning we left the farmhouse and never looked back. The locals later told us that the spirit had been laid to rest by our singing, but the experience left a scar that no amount of Christmas cheer could ever heal. Whether it was a hallucination or a genuine encounter with the supernatural, I'll never know. But one thing is certain, the haunting of that Christmas Eve will stay with me forever.